Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Spruce Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 12 NFL Power Rankings. So, going over last week's rankings, what those teams did in Week 11. Last week, at number 10, I had the Cardinals. They were on a bye. Ninth was the Vikings. They beat the Titans 23-13. 8 was the Eagles. They beat the Commanders 26-18. 7 was the Commanders. They lost the Eagles 26-18. 6, I had the Packers. They barely beat the Bears 20-19. 5 was the Steelers. They beat the Ravens 18-16. 4 was the Ravens, who lost the Steelers 18-16. 3 was the Bills. They beat the Chiefs 30-21. 2 was the Lions, who demolished the Jaguars 52-6. And 1 was the Chiefs, and they lost to the Bills 30-21. But getting into this week's rankings, beginning things at number 10, I've got the Cardinals. So the Cardinals, they remain at number 10. They're on a bye. They're currently sitting at 6-4 in first place of the NFC West. Next week, they face the Seahawks. Coming in at number 9, I have the Chargers. The Chargers enter my top 10 at number 9 after they beat the Bengals by a score of 34-27. But this was a weird game for the Chargers. They were great in the first half, up 24-6 at halftime. But then they blew the lead, with the game being tied at 27, before the Chargers scored a late touchdown from J.K. Dobbins to get the win. But the Chargers offense, they played well, with a season-high 34 points. Justin Herbert played a great game with 297 yards and 2 touchdowns, and rookie receiver Ladd McConkey was great, with 6 catches for 123 yards, and that's a career high. Then defensively for the Chargers, they weren't great. They allowed 27 points and over 450 total yards. And this was actually the first time this season the Chargers defense allowed more than 20 points. But the Chargers, they're now 7-3, winners of 4 straight. And during that 4-game winning streak, their offense has really begun to find their stride. But the Chargers, they're playing well, and after a win over the Bengals, I have them at number 9. 8th, I have the Vikings. So the Vikings enter at number 8 after a 23-13 win over the Titans, and this was a good game for the Vikings. It was a much-needed easier win. Sam Darnold had a nice bounce-back game with 246 yards and 2 touchdowns, although the Vikings didn't run the ball that effectively, rushing for just 82 yards and 2.5 yards a carry. But the Vikings defense dominated this game, allowing just 13 points, plus sacking the quarterback 5 times. But the Vikings, after a good win over the Titans, they check in at number 8. 7th, I have the Packers. So the Packers, they're at number 7 after they beat the Bears by a score of 20-19, and they won on a blocked field goal. And this was actually the second week in a row we saw a team win on a blocked field goal, as obviously last week the Chiefs beat the Broncos on a blocked field goal. But the Packers, they did not play that well. Jordan Love threw for 261 yards, a touchdown, and a pick, and is actually now tied for the league lead in interceptions on the season with 11. But Jordan Love did run for the game-winning touchdown. The Packers were also pretty good running the football, rushing for 102 yards and 2 touchdowns, averaging 4.2 yards per carry. Then defensively for the Packers, they were okay. They allowed nearly 400 yards, but held the Bears to just 19 points, although the Packers did struggle to stop the run, allowing 179 rushing yards and over 5 yards per carry. It wasn't a pretty win for the Packers, but a win is a win. They continue to own the Bears, and they've now won 11 straight against Chicago, and the Bears, they're at number 7. Coming in at number 6, I have the Ravens. So the Ravens fall to number 6 after they lost to the Steelers 18-16. The Ravens' offense was not good, with just 16 points, plus they turned the ball over 3 times. Lamar Jackson had his worst game of the season, throwing for just 207 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Derrick Henry had a decent game, with 65 yards and a touchdown, but he actually fumbled for the first time in the last 2 years. Then the Ravens defense actually played a pretty solid game, not allowing the Steelers to score a single touchdown and forcing them to settle for 6 field goals. But the difference in this game, the Steelers made all 6 of their field goals, while Ravens kicker Justin Tucker wedges 1 for 3. But the Ravens, they continue to struggle against the Steelers, having now lost 8 of the last 9 matchups, and the Ravens, they're now second in the AFC North at number 6. Getting into the top 5 at number 5, I have the Eagles. So the Eagles, they enter at number 5 after a 26-18 win over the Commanders, and this was a good win for the Eagles. Saquon Barkley had another great game with 146 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that was a part of a 228-yard and 3 touchdown performance for the Eagles running the ball as a team. The Eagles' defense also played very well, allowing just 4.2 yards per play, and didn't really let the Commanders get anything going outside of their garbage time touchdown. But this was a great win for the Eagles. They convincingly beat a good Commanders team, They're now leading the NFC East and have won 6 straight games, and I've got the Eagles at number 5. Fourth, I have the Steelers. So the Steelers are at number 4 after they beat the Ravens by a score of 18-16. But this wasn't a great game for the Steelers, but they were still able to beat a very good Ravens team, and they now sit atop the division. The Steelers' offense was not good, not scoring a single touchdown, and instead kicking 6 field goals. And this is actually the second time this season the Steelers have won a game without scoring a touchdown, as they also kicked 6 field goals when they beat the Falcons 18-10 back in Week 1. But Russell Wilson and the Steelers' offense did not play well. Wilson had just 205 yards and an interception, and was also sacked 4 times, although receiver George Pickens continued to play well, as he had 8 catches for 89 yards. Now, defensively for the Steelers, they were great once again, as they held a very good Ravens offense to just 16 points, plus they forced 3 turnovers, and the Steelers, they're playing extremely well, and I have them at number 4. Third, I have the Chiefs. So the Chiefs fall to number 3 after they lost their first game of the season, losing to the Bills 30-21. The Chiefs' offense was okay in this game, putting up 21 points. Patrick Mahomes threw for 191 yards and 3 touchdowns, but also had 2 interceptions. And the Chiefs didn't run the ball that well, rushing for just 78 yards. Now, the Chiefs' defense had their worst game of the season by far, allowing 30 points and 366 total yards. And this was the first time the Chiefs gave up 30 points in a game since Super Bowl 57, which was the end of the 2022 season. So that is an insane streak for the Chiefs' defense that comes to an end. And speaking of streaks, the Chiefs had their 15-game winning streak snapped, and they fall to number 3 after their first loss of the season. Coming in at number 2, I have the Bills. The Bills, they move up to number 2 after they handed the Chiefs their first loss of the season. The Bills' offense played well, scoring 30 points, and they've now hit 30 points in 5 straight games. Josh Allen had a great game with 261 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Plus, he had 55 rushing yards and a huge rushing touchdown to seal the game. Running back James Cook also found the end zone twice, and receiver Khalil Shakir had a good game with 8 catches for 70 yards. Then defensively, the Bills played well, allowing just 21 points, picking off Patrick Mahomes twice, and getting a big stop late in the game. But the Bills, after they give the Chiefs their first loss since Week 15 of last season, the Bills, they enter at number 2. And coming in at number 1, I have the Lions. So the Lions, they move up to number 1 after they demolished the Jaguars, winning 52-6. But the Lions, they dominated this game. Their offense was great with 52 points and 645 total yards. And this was the second time this season the Lions, they scored over 50 points. The Lions also scored on every single drive except their last one, and their offense just played a great game. Jared Goff had 412 yards and 4 touchdowns. Receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown had a huge game with 11 catches for 161 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he's now scored a touchdown in 8 straight games. Plus, the Lions ran the ball very effectively, rushing for 196 yards and 3 touchdowns. Then on the defensive side for the Lions, they allowed just 6 points and just 170 total yards. But this was a dominant all-around win for the Lions, and they're at number 1. But those are my Week 12 NFL Power Rankings. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.